Pittsburgh Steelers fans, we are finally here with the Scho Bro Show. This is Behind the Steel Curtain co-editor Dave Schofield coming at you, as always, with his big brother Rich. Rich, how are you?
Evening, Steeler fans. Less than a week to go. This time next week, I'll be suffering from the ever-famous Steeler hangover.
Yes.
I can't wait.
As you know that you heard Brian say, in the words of Big Bro Scho, he said that several times with some of our shows over the weekend.
You were around. And of course, he said it, so I had to put it out there in all caps. Can't wait.
Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little flustered. I was dealing with some technical issues. Sorry, we're a little bit late. I don't even have the right time on my laptop right now. It says I'm an hour behind. So I'm starting to feel a little bit like Michael Beck, like I'm behind the clock a little bit. But here we are. We are ready to go. Can you believe that next week we are going to have a game to talk about?
That's right.
So hey, next week, this is going to be a really big day for everyone because it's a Monday night game. So Brian and Tony finished up the offseason Q&A yesterday. So normally on Monday is the hangover, but the game's on Monday. So guess what's going to happen next week? You're going to get a double dose. You're going to get the hangover at its normal regular time, but on Tuesday. So earlier in the day, like 5 o'clock or so on Tuesday. And then we'll come at you Tuesday evening, as regularly scheduled. So that's going to be exciting. We kind of are going to be a little bit, somewhat, worn down from the Steelers game being a primetime game. What do you think of the 7:10 kickoff? Do you like that when they run when the Steelers have the early game, when they run 2 Monday night games?
Yeah, actually it's not too bad because then it finishes up and playing. Yeah. So I'm not quite so rough getting up for work the next morning. I appreciate the little slightly earlier ending time.
Yeah, and here's
I just got to make sure we're done and cleaned up from dinner in time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure. Am I right? I know the Steelers played Monday Night Football in Week 1 at Washington. That was how many years ago was that? 6 years ago, I think, maybe
5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. You know what? I would have to be. Not 6. It's 4. It was 4 years ago because they're playing Washington. It's every 4 years. I don't know why I was thinking that crazy.
I don't know.
It's every 4 years. So they were in Washington for that one on Monday night. That was an early one. I don't know if they've ever done haven't had the early Monday night other than that one. So I kind of like this. But Rich, there's a lot to talk about. We are going to let you all know, let all our listeners know, those of you watching on YouTube, we've got lots of people here in the live chat right now. But for those of you listening in the podcast, to let you know that the way this show is normally going to work, we will take the first half of the show and talk about last week, and the second half of the show to talk about the coming week. This is the Tuesday show. This is the transition show. Tuesday's transition day. Mike Tomlin speaks. He usually talks about the game that happened, some things from that, and then he moves the focus on to the next week. Mike Tomlin spoke today. Once again, no game to talk about, but lots to talk about with things there. So what we're going to do, since we have no game to talk about, but we do want to keep that form of second half of the show, we're talking about the game coming up. Okay. Oh, I'm going to get there, Captain Underpants. I'm going to plug that Survivor League. We're on to league number 3 right now. We want to keep going, keep filling it up, get in there. For those of you that don't know what he's talking about, go to BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, look for an article that has a picture of Marquise Pouncey, and it says, enter to win a free Marquise Pouncey signed football. In that article is the link. You just click on it. If you have a Yahoo ID, it takes you right to it. You're signed up for our Survivor League, which is picking one game, one team to win each week. Can't use the same team more than once. All the rules are laid out there. Bottom line is it's free. It costs you nothing, and you could win a signed Marquise Pouncey football. So go in and join. Even if you don't say, I don't know that much. Doesn't matter. You know what? People who, people that go to casinos and win big sometimes are people that don't know that much. So it doesn't really matter. This one, all you're doing is picking a game each week. So you're in, aren't you, Rich?
I'm in. I'm there.
You in League
One?
One?
League One.
Yep. I've got to be in all of them.
Kyle and I are in League One.
Yeah. So we have that. So what we're going to do with the show today, we're going to talk about basically what would have happened since what would have been the last preseason game. If you didn't get a chance to, it was a lot of fun. One of the top articles still on behindthestillcurtain.com is an article about predicting the past rather than predicting the future. And it was basically a kind of a fun thing of, hey, this is how the 5 preseason games would have played out. And this is what would have happened, and even predicted of who scored touchdowns, who struggled, all these different things. It was a lot of fun. It made me feel like I actually had a preseason when I read it. And I really enjoyed it. So can't wait. So we're going to talk about basically everything that's happened.
Can't wait.
Yep. You let's talk about the roster cut down. That was a big thing.
Oh my God. Really, I can't believe, yeah, we could talk the roster cut down, but really overall, I just can't believe, I haven't seen the Steelers be this busy over this same period of time going into a season as I feel like we were this year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, some people are bringing up some of the more recent news that we're going to get to soon. Some injuries dealing with the Steelers, some injuries dealing with some of their very soon future opponents. We'll get there. We're kind of doing a timeline there. So the Steelers cut down their roster. Your biggest surprise, you listened to the show.
Biggest surprise was I lost the name. The corner from Florida Atlantic.
James Pierre.
Yes, Pierre. I don't know why I can't remember that, but I can't. For me, I don't want to say that was a huge surprise, but really, did it? There was a little bit of love for the guy here and there, but undrafted guy makes the 53.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
And we talked about that some on Saturday. That was a guy that had started to get a lot of buzz. You started to hear more things about him. And I guess it was maybe they felt that there was too much heard about him, that someone else could maybe snag him, or maybe they're just not worried about that. And the Steelers won him on the team this year. So they did keep 6 corners. He was one of them. I was really surprised that they only kept 5 wide receivers. I was really surprised that it wasn't Ryan Switzer. I called Ray McLeod.
I wasn't first until I started to hear the buzz of them feeling that they can use Ebron as a big 6th receiver.
Yeah,
having a guy like that gives you that extra little flexibility in there. And maybe then the decision was made that because they had that guy that could flex out wide as a tight end, that we could use the space better somewhere else.
Well, I was really surprised because I thought, but then when I thought about it, I've realized what it made sense. See, last year the Steelers only kept 5 to start. And then on Saturday, the day before the game, that's when they promoted Johnny Holton. They cut who's our skipper, and they went with 6.
Right.
Maybe because they knew that they had several options for the practice squad, and they know each week they can pull up to 2 players from the practice squad. Maybe they realized wide receiver, since they usually don't dress more than 5, that was one that they just didn't need to do.
Right.
That was it.
There were several reasons why I think in the end it was probably a good move.
Yeah. So they got Deion Kane and Amar Darbo on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
I could see either one of them, whenever the need would be for them to be pulled up for a game. I could even see if things don't work out with Ray McLeod. I said I thought they'd keep him because he offers kick return. He offers gunner on special teams.
Right.
And then he's your last receiver. But if he's not working much as a receiver and they need one of those other guys, they'll use him. Or if you're dealing with injury, I could see either one of those play. I think Deion Kane will play games for the Steelers this year, unless he gets poached.
I agree. I imagine that as well.
So that's one thing that was surprising. I was really surprised that the Steelers kept Carlos Davis on the active roster. I didn't think there was any chance someone was going to try to grab him, and I didn't really see like he was a guy that was going to help him on game day. So crazy. What are your thoughts on that?
It was going to be him they chose to keep him up and send somebody else.
Yeah. So, Big Dan is on the practice squad, which did save him some money, which, that does save them some money. So that was very interesting.
So think about that too. You cut Big Dan and he goes to the practice squad, or you put Davis down to the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, save some cap space, and because really did they really? They probably had a good idea. Was anybody really going to grab up Big Dan? And if they were we really going to be that sad about it?
You're also missing one other thing.
What's that?
That you said about that? Was anyone going to miss Big Dan? He was not susceptible to waivers. Carlos Davis would have gone on waivers.
Right.
Big Dan, not.
Correct.
He could choose to stay in Pittsburgh if anyone else approached him. So I thought maybe I threw this out in an article. I'm like, maybe there's an injury we don't know about, and we'll talk about a different one. I didn't even want to mention his name in the article, so I didn't. And unfortunately, the one thing was it's not that bad, but I don't even like it. But I thought maybe, someone like Chris Wormley, who's missed a lot of time in training camp, maybe they needed to put him on the IR designated to return, which means he had to be on the roster first. That if he got on the roster, someone like Big Dan, they could say, hey, we're going to sign you back. Let's get him on IR. And we're going to bring you back. They wouldn't want to do that with a guy would have to clear waivers. But then that wasn't the case anyway. So, thought about it. Wasn't right. Oh, well. That was just a thing. So that I thought that was very interesting. So then we turn around on Sunday, and yes, Sunday had the practice squad and everything, but that's not the news from Sunday.
No, it's not.
That's I've never been more excited for a couple of former Steelers to come back. And I actually, Brian and I talked about this in the podcast. I put this in that same article of these two specific players. And what do you know? They got both of them. The Steelers claimed Josh Dobbs off of waivers.
Yep.
And they signed Sean Davis.
Oh, when both those guys were cut, when Dobbs was cut, I was like, are we really going to get him back? We traded him away last year, got the draft pick. He goes away for a year and then comes back.
What's funny, you got a 5th round draft pick, which you didn't ultimately pick. You could say, well, we got that player and we still got Dobbs back. They didn't ultimately pick there. They traded that one for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it allowed them to move up and draft Kevin Dobbs. That was where they swapped a 5th for a 4th, where they moved up around, because next year they will move back around from the 6th to the 7th.
Right.
And then, of course, they got that.
You look, we got something for him last year, and he's right back with us.
Yeah.
But the one that really excited me was the Sean Davis.
I thought that was smart.
When the Washington football team, somebody could call him WFT, but it's more like WTF.
Yeah.
When they let him go, I was like, please go get him. There's our safety depth that everybody says we don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then that's the thing. Sean Davis. Oh, sorry. All right, Beastie. Sorry. Get your phone on silent.
I thought I had it on silent.
Be a professional. No.
Yeah. You are a professional.
But the thing with Sean Davis was, I understand that he left because he wanted to start. But he might have realized the grass wasn't greener and that it just wasn't in the cards. He went home. He's from the area. He played at Maryland. He went back to Washington. And they're like, oh, look at the guys that beat him out. He must not be very good.
Well,
they gave him not a good fit.
They gave him a $2 million signing bonus and a $1.5 million salary for the upcoming year. So, you think about the cap money that Washington's on the hook for right now with him.
Well,
I don't know that I saw. I don't know if I ever saw terms for what we signing too.
It was reported it was $2 million that they, which was surprising to me because if they signed him for less, Washington's going to have to be on the hook for that. I don't know how it all worked out. I haven't seen the terms. I'd really like to know what they were. Regardless, some people are like, oh, but Sean Davis, oh, what about when he was here? You know what? Oh, think about what happens when he was covering Gronk and blah, blah, blah. You're talking about your backup.
Yep.
You're talking about your backup.
Yep.
He is now your best backup. He can back up both positions in safety. I wrote an article saying, is he going to affect sub packages? Is he going to be used in dime now? Maybe not as much as Cam Sutton, or will they use Cam Sutton in place of Mike Hilton and Sean Davis? But it really doesn't matter because they have options and they have more depth. It was a great signing. I got super excited about him. Then after that, the Steelers did their practice squad. All 14 guys that they announced on Sunday were all guys from training camp. They didn't sign anyone from anywhere else. And then they did 2 more guys yesterday where they added Smallwood. They could have added Sunday. I don't know what went on there. Maybe he was exploring other options, looking for something else. I'm not sure, but that was the deal there. So not sure why he wasn't announced with everyone else. Didn't hear that story. Exactly why, just speculation. And then, of course, the Steelers saved a spot to bring back Devlin Hodges on the practice squad, which I know some people are like, the Steelers have never kept 4 quarterbacks before. What are they thinking? Do you forget that it is 2020, that there's no fans in the stands and there's extra guys on the practice squad because you want to have the last thing you want is two quarterbacks going on the COVID list and you only got 1 for a game. That's what you got to have 4. You got to do it. Don't even, have him virtually watch everything at practice and quarantine him the whole time, just so you have a quarterback no matter what.
Who was I seeing that signed a vet and then quarantined him? And who was it that I saw signed? I want to say it was Brian Hoyer or something. Yeah, somebody signed.
Or was it McNown that was like the 41-year-old? I know.
I don't know, but somebody signed a vet and then he's just staying quarantined at home.
Yeah.
They're not even bringing him.
Yeah.
And then saying,
yeah, this is it. Wait. Matty P in Australia's got it. Well, one of our blokes from Touchdown Under.
Thank you.
Says can't believe McCown's situation. $12K to be at home. They just want him at home. Not but you belong to us.
Yes.
That's crazy. But I don't blame him.
No, it's not crazy. If you think about it, it's really smart.
Yeah.
Because you wait. Yeah. Would it really surprise you if somewhere on some team this year doesn't end up with like 8 guys out in a week for COVID?
Yeah.
They could. And what happens if someone in your quarterback room is exposed? And then suddenly everybody's been sitting in there, it's no good. What are you going to do? You got to be able to call somebody.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to bring this up. George Rice brought up something. It's exactly what I said in our communications with the with the staff at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com when this happened on Sunday. And some people were like, is he even better than Duck? Why are they blah, blah, blah? I'm like, well, first of all, yes, he was better than Duck. Duck was sitting at home in week 1 last week while last year, while Dobbs was the number 3 quarterback. So they have him back. And you also get him to emulate the scrambling quarterbacks that the Steelers are going to play. So it's kind of 2 birds, 1 stone, but I still think that the Steelers think more of him than that. I'm happy to have him back. The guy's an aerospace engineer, I think it is, or one of those type of engineers. So like to have the smart cerebral guy back. So love those moves. Love what's going on. Something I don't love so much. Of course, you don't get the stuff from Mike Tomlin on Tuesdays. 2 different things that came out as reports that were not confirmed by Mike Tomlin. First report was Zach Banner's starting right tackle. Mike Tomlin says both guys are capable. We're going to wait and see how the week plays out. But the reports are still out there that Zach Banner's won the job. That's one. That's not the one that's bad. The other one that's bad is there's a report that David DeCastro will most likely miss week 1. This was from Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He's not going to put something out there unless he's got reasonable information. So it doesn't mean he's ruled out. Don't be surprised when a practice report comes out won't be until Thursday because it's a Monday night game, that it'll say DeCastro didn't, that he's not going to be ruled out. He'll probably get ruled out on the last practice report. So it's not definite. Even Dulac was saying they don't expect him for week 1. So even still not expecting him for week 1 doesn't mean it's beyond the realm of possibility that he could play. So he's not ruled out, but it's looking like he's not playing. What do you think, Rich?
Well, as much as you'd like him to be there, if there's any question, I say you hold him out because you put Wisniewski in there because that's exactly what you went out and got Wisniewski for.
Did you read my article?
Well, yes, I did.
Okay, I was going to say, because that's what I said in my article. I'm like, this is what he's here for. I called Wisniewski a 5-star backup interior lineman in the NFL. He's done it for multiple teams. He started in 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls and played for the Super Bowl champion for both the Eagles and the Chiefs. Did not start off as the starter. Well, I think he did start off in Philadelphia, then wasn't for a while. But he wasn't the starter all season in both of those situations. So that's what they are. Now, these are reports. I understand. It's funny because when the report came out with Banner, first it was Adam Crowley had the report, then Mark Caboli, and they were like, maybe we should run with this report. And I was like, I don't know. I'd like to know for sure, but that's why we're saying it's a report.
That one felt more like somebody trying to get out and try to say they were first.
Yes, but there's plenty of those going on. But if you go to BehindTheScreen.com, what do you see for both of those articles? Report. This is what someone else is reporting. I'd like to hear it straight from the Steelers, but we're not going to. So just got to go.
Not at this point this week.
Yep. Another breaking news thing, not with the Steelers, that came out at the end of the day, is that apparently, this affects the Steelers' week 2 game. Apparently, Von Miller might be out for the season with an ankle or a fibula. They're still not even sure what it is. That's something that could affect the Steelers' week 2 game. So that's something to kind of keep an ear out for as things go on. But you know what? We're focused on the Giants, aren't we?
It's great. We got to play week 1 before we can worry about week 2. Exactly.
So, but not quite ready to take a break. I'm going to just throw it out there. This is what I would sometimes do when the old Stat Geek show, when we would do last week to this week. We're going to take, if there's a couple questions or statements about the Steelers roster, the practice squad, the moves they made, because we didn't even mention the other one. What am I doing? We got a new punter.
Yeah, I was wondering what you were waiting on. I thought that you were filling time to get to that and then swap over.
Yeah, we got a new punter with Dustin Colquitt. What is it, 15 years in the league, I think?
Yep.
His dad was a punter for the Steelers, drafted by the Steelers.
Drafted by the Steelers, Super Bowl rings with the Steelers.
Yep. So that's another one. Mike Tomlin said today it was just a chance to add a great player. And of course, like I said that Jordan Berry was going to win the holder's job, is why he was going to have it. But Coach Tomlin specifically mentioned that he was a very good holder.
Yeah.
So we have that for Boswell. So, hey, if there was any questions or thoughts about the 53-man roster, we'll look at them here before we take the break. So go ahead and say something.
Who was I reading on the site today talking about Colquitt? I think it might have been something Michael Beck had out. Talking about, wow, could you imagine, just one extra time of pinning a team deep inside the 20 and having our defense have somebody pin back? You got to not even just think of it as how far the guy can punt, but let's say he's good and can pin teams back. Imagine the more times where we're pinning teams deep with our defense.
And people like to talk about, Juju Smith-Schuster's fumble against the Ravens. You do know that Jordan Berry had more fumbles last year than Juju. He did. So yeah,
That's
he did.
true.
So he did. A couple things I want to bring up here. So we can cap this off before we then roll into the Giants. Dante Leaf says, only thing to worry about the Giants is if Ben comes out rusty. I said this. I think that no preseason levels the playing field. Like sure I feel like Ben would be rusty because he didn't play as much in the preseason as other quarterbacks may have. But now none of them's played. But we do have to worry about Ben being rusty since he didn't play since week 2 of last year. So that is still a concern. But I don't know. I'm not as concerned about it as I'd be more concerned if they had a preseason and he only played 2 drives, honestly. But now, that's just who it is for everyone across the board. I want to hit this next one, which is North Top. Could we see Chuk start over Banner anytime this season? I'll be honest with you.
Sure.
I would not be shocked if that was a false report.
Yeah. So
no. Nothing against the guys that reported it. If that was kind of some misinformation. So yeah, I shouldn't say false report. Bad choice of words. I apologize, especially for those who broke the story. Misinformation purposefully released so the Giants would prepare for more of a run blocker at right tackle, and then it ends up being more of the pass blocker at right tackle. Wouldn't be shocked. So I would be shocked if he started week 1. I think it'd be smart to go week to week based on the matchup. If they're really both that good and get them both some playing time, but they, right. But also with your offensive line, you want to keep them locked in as much as you can and not change stuff around. So,
all right, let's go rapid fire with a couple of these.
Go, bring them up.
We switch sections. All right, go. How sloppy you think first few games will be, like preseason, but with starters? Yeah, but it's going to be sloppy for everybody. Mm-hmm. So, again, I don't think we don't have a level playing field. Okay. All right. Steven Nelson will have far better year than Hayden. Disagree?
Yes. Doesn't mean that he won't have a better year. I don't think it's going to be far better.
Far better.
I think they're both going to have good years that are going to be close together. I still think Nelson, could have the better year, but I don't know that it'll be far.
Right. Take the word far out. That's definitely a statement I agree with. I got one. This one.
Yep, that's it.
That one. Why do we wait to sign Colquitt? He was released not long after the Super Bowl. Take it.
Huh. I wasn't sure when he was released. I don't know. I didn't know he was released that long ago, but maybe it was one of those things of, he could make a good bit of money as a punter. The Steelers reportedly might have saved $1 million on the salary cap and got a better punter.
Right.
It might have just been about getting it for the right price.
Here's my quick thought: if you go out and you go after him early, right after he's released, he's demanding more money.
Yeah.
Okay. If you wait till he's sitting at home and the phone's not ringing, he's willing to take less money.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yep. All right. I got one.
Yep. Bring it.
Ben, specifically first quarter of the season. What do you think? How good do you think?
I think first quarter of the season he's going to be solid, but still knocking off a little bit of rust here and there. Don't be surprised if you see a couple of bad picks.
Yeah. Yep. But don't be surprised if you see some plays that you're like, those other guys, even on the first drive, say the guys playing last year couldn't have made that play.
Right.
That's what I want to see. I want to see more of those than those. Because you know what? And any quarterback can throw picks. It's just going to happen. I'm going to bring up one last one before we take our break. Okay. From Donald. What if Dustin emulates his father, joins the Steelers, wins the next 2 Super Bowls with an aging veteran quarterback? I'd give that 2 thumbs up. Let's go for it.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Actually. Yeah. We could write a book on that.
That would be fantastic. So we're going to take a real quick break. We're not going anywhere here on YouTube. This is for the audio podcast, so we can split those up to give the right length of shows there. So make sure you are tuning into BehindTheSteelCurtain.com with everything, and we will be back to preview the Giants game coming up in just a minute. And we are back. For those of you listening here on YouTube, we didn't go anywhere, but for those of you listening to it on our audio platforms, welcome to part 2 of the Scho Bro Show, where we are going to, during the regular season, be breaking down the game that was and then rolling into the game that is to come. Well, we don't have a game that was, but here we are, part 2,
Finally.
the game to come.
Finally.
Oh, we've been waiting for this for so long.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Rich, tell me overall, tell me about what you're thinking about for Monday night.
Win.
Win. Okay. So you're thinking win. So I just kind of wait to see.
About 6:30, my hands are going to be sweating. I'm going to be all nervous. And just like that last 30, 40 minutes before kickoff is not going to go fast enough.
See, this is the problem. I like the Steelers being, national audience, all that thing. No, I get to see the game, all that good stuff. I got to wait until 7 o'clock. I mean, all day. I'm like, who wants to do anything on the website all day knowing that the game's coming? I mean, come on. That's why, especially that first one that you're waiting for, those 1 o'clock games are great. But you know what? I'll sit back, watch a bunch of football on Sunday, and just be pining for the Steelers to get there sooner than later. So, Rich, what is the most important thing? What's the one key thing that the Steelers have to worry about for this game coming up?
Worry about for them or worry about the Giants?
From the Giants. Offense, defense, what do you think?
Really, to me, there's only one guy they need to worry about. Saquon Barkley.
Yes, Saquon Barkley. That's the answer. That was the right answer. And I knew you were going to give the right answer.
Let's agreed.
Yep.
Let's agree.
Well, here's the thing.
Saquon Barkley.
Here's the thing. I hope you and Wes are both getting excited because you guys are getting ready to make some debuts with contributing to BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. We got a little bit of a change up because of everything that Brian's doing with the podcasts and the podcast producer. Brian has passed off a couple of his articles that he would do for every game to some newbies. So we've got Wes. He's going to be bringing us the grades the day after the game every week.
Wes, I'm excited for that. I think you're going to be fabulous at it.
Yes, so I really am. And getting ready to look forward to that. But Rich, Big Bro Scho, he's going to be joining us as well. He gets to do the fun one. I've done this article once and I loved it. You get to have, as soon as the game recap is done, the next article that comes out on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com is going to be you. It's not going to say Brian Anthony Davis. It's going to say Big Bro Scho, and it's going to be entitled Knee-Jerk Reactions.
Knee-Jerk Reactions.
Rich,
if you all have ever watched Pittsburgh Dad on YouTube and any of the times where he's watching the Steeler games, I swear to God, I am that guy during Steeler games.
Yeah,
so
we're all that guy during Steeler games.
You are going to hear that kind of stuff from me. There's going to be plenty of geez Louise and what are you thinking and yeah. And don't be surprised from my end, too, if you don't get a quote here and there from Kyle.
Oh, we better be getting some quotes from Kyle.
He and I usually watch games together, and what's hilarious is sometimes I'm just so mad I'm quiet, and he's the one screaming at the TV.
There you go. So these are going to be some new contributors you guys are going to get to see. It's going to be some familiar things that you're used to seeing from the site, but from different faces, although you won't see their faces because – it's on. You're reading it. Anyway, I want to talk about something.
Different authors.
Do you have? I asked you what who the key was that the one player the Steelers had to worry about the most from the Giants, and we all agreed that Saquon Barkley.
The Steelers contain Saquon Barkley and don't let him beat them. The Steelers win the game easily.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this question. I had an answer, and now I'm going to change it. I want you to give me one player. I'm actually going to give you two. I'm going to give you a 1A and a 1B. What's
Okay.
the one player that you may or may not, might not always, doesn't have to be the easy, obvious answer. What's the one player for the Steelers that's going to be a very big key to the game Monday?
Okay. Now, it is somebody that you're going to expect me to say, but I have a reason why I'm saying it.
Okay.
All right. So the key for the Steelers is, well, let me put it this way. It's not a player, but it's an attribute from a player. Okay. Can Ben Roethlisberger get in rhythm?
Oh, okay. That's a good one. You're talking about Ben Roethlisberger.
If Ben Roethlisberger can get in rhythm, we're in good shape. I'm worried that it's going to take over 3/4 of the game before you see him start to get into rhythm. If that's the case, the game is a lot closer than it should be.
Okay. That's great. That's a great answer. I'm going to give you an answer that I think is going to help if the Steelers offense isn't in rhythm, that's going to help them. Because guess what? Even if the Steelers aren't producing a lot on offense, if they're holding the Giants, that's the key. I'm going to throw something out there as my 1A and 1B, and I'm going to tell you why. My 1A is one Vinny Vici, Vince Williams, because he is your run stopping linebacker. You saw the difference he made in that when he came back for that first game against Baltimore, where they had been running all over everyone and did not have that many yards rushing relatively compared to their other games when they played the Steelers in week 5. So I think him being able to stop the run, and it's not just Vince, it's everybody, but I'm saying he's the one guy out there that's really, because your defensive linemen, of course, they can stop the run, but really anyone who's played football or coached football, you understand, what a lot of those big guys are meant to do up front? They're meant to occupy guys for your linebackers to make plays.
Correct.
So if Cam Heyward's occupying guys, our boy Cam Heyward, 2024, going to be there at least that long for the Steelers. I actually have a little something I can say about that.
That was actually, we didn't cover that in the first half of the show.
We'll come back to it.
That was maybe one of the biggest shocks of the weekend, actually, to get that deal done in the last second.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Well, I mean, they still had time, but he didn't expect it to happen then. But the reason I'm going with Vince Williams is you got to start Barkley. If you don't let Barkley go crazy, then, running the ball, then guess what they're going to have to do? Then they're going to have to pass the ball. And if they're going to have to pass the ball, they're going to have to not get sacked by TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Stephon Tuitt, Cam Heyward, Mike Hilton, all those guys. You can't let those guys get to the quarterback. Then, let's say he does, then he's got to be able to complete passes against Micah Fitzpatrick, Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, Devin Bush, Cam Sutton, all those guys. So that's why if they can stop the run. But my 1B player is Devin Bush, because Devin Bush, not only does he need to be there to stop the run, he, I think, is going to be the key to try to reduce Barkley in the passing game. That's not going to be Vince Williams' job. That's not where he is. Vince Williams is the guy that's in the middle of the field going to be stopping him. If you're talking about how they involve Barkley in the passing game, that's where you need Devin Bush to really step up. So I really think that it's those two players, because it's all about stopping Saquon Barkley. If they can keep Barkley under control, then even if the Steelers are starting slow, if Ben's not getting in a rhythm, hopefully then maybe they're getting some running game going. As long as Barkley's not running all over them, then that, it should be a good game, a good close game. But if they're in that rhythm, then I think you might hit the nail on the head. The person who could take Barkley out of the game the most, rather not Vince Williams, not Devin Bush, is Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben Roethlisberger, correct.
Because if the Steelers' offense is out there and rolling and they're getting a lead, then you're taking that part away from the Giants. Don't you agree?
Yes. Nothing I would love to see more than Steelers receive, Giants win the coin flip, Steelers receive the opening kickoff, send Anthony McFarland back to return and have him
or Ray McLeod.
Yes.
Yeah.
But have one of those two new guys take it and just break it, give us a lead, and then stick the defense
I know.
on the field.
Well, how many years ago was that? I missed the Steelers' first touchdown of the season. I was going over to a friend's house to watch the game. Was this? I'm thinking maybe it was 2017. And I missed it because what they do, they blocked the punt and recovered it against the Browns. I had just got to his house, was listening to it on the radio, and got there when it happened because it happened
now
so early.
Stop. You just need to stop right now.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot allow you to go onto this show and continue to lie to our fans.
What's that? Did I have
you
a friend?
Don't have any friends.
Hey, I don't have friends. I have Steeler family. That's what I have. Yeah, that's what I have.
Come on.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, it's going to be big on this offensive line. I'm something else for those of you that are joining us here, listening on the audio, watching on YouTube. Tomorrow night's live show, which will be Thursday midday's audio show, you got to make sure you're checking that out. It's same cast, new name, Know Your Enemy, with Michael Beck and Jeffrey Benedict. They're going to be talking about the New York Giants. There are going to be weeks that they have someone on from one of those teams. I know we were still working on that. I haven't paid attention to see if that definitely happened yet or not, if they're having someone on from that covers the Giants, and talking about, if not, it doesn't matter. Because you know why? Because I'm sure Jeffrey's got everything broken down anyway. So make sure that you are catching that to hear everything that we need to know about the Giants. But Coach Tomlin talked about something interesting today. The last question of his press conference, I actually did this as an article this afternoon. So if you're not sure, head to behindthesteelcurtain.com and check that out. And it was about specifically Devin Bush. They're like, new head coach, new coaching staff in New York. What film do you study to get ready for this game? And Coach Tomlin's answer was the Dallas Cowboys. He says we're watching some Cowboys film. The reason you're watching the Cowboys film, who's the new offensive coordinator in New York for the Giants? That would be one Jason Garrett, who coached for, if you count him being the interim coach, I think it's 10 years in Dallas as the head coach. And then he was with them longer coaching, but before he was the head coach. And not only that, Coach Tomlin brought up that the offensive line coach from Dallas is also the offensive line coach now in New York. So watching some Cowboys film. And then he says, of course, you want it. That's for schemes. But then you got to watch the Giants film for personnel.
To see what the players can do.
Yeah. So that's the personnel, and then that's the scheme. I then looked into it because I wanted to see who the offensive line coach was. So I looked up the Giants coaching staff. Did you know that Freddie Kitchens is also on the Giants coaching staff?
Really?
Yeah, he is their tight ends coach. So for those of you that aren't sure who that was, he was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns last year. And was their offensive coordinator. Yeah, so he was the offensive coordinator for the second. He was the interim offensive coordinator when Tequila Cowboy got let go the year before in Todd Haley, and then shockingly he got the head coaching job, which I still think was kind of crazy. So I don't know what else to say about this. Is there anything number-wise, statistics-wise, anything that you want to say that the Steelers need to do in order to win this game?
No, but some things that I'd like to see that would help. Okay. Because I have a feeling we're going to get to see a couple times in the game. We're going to probably end up a few times having to trot Boz out for threes instead of sevens. And when we do, I want to continue to see the consistent Boz we had last year and 3 years ago.
Yeah.
To me, that's important to start that season off right and seeing him kicking the ball well.
Here's what's interesting. I got to bring up something about Boz. To me, there was only two options for the Steelers when it came to their team captains for special teams. They announced their 5-team captains yesterday. It was Roethlisberger and Pouncey on offense. It's either been just Roethlisberger or the two of them The last person that wasn't Roethlisberger or Pouncey was Heath Miller. So that's how long it's been since it's been one of those two. On defense, it's of course Cam Heyward, and they have two this year good, and it's got to be TJ Watt. He's finally a captain where he should be. But when it came to the special teams, I'm like, it's got to either be Dangerfield or Boswell, and I'm like, I don't want it to be Boswell because the last time he was captain, he had a horrible season.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that. Last year's special teams captain was Rosie Nix. He was hurt. It seems like that special teams captain is just kind of the last couple of years has not been positive. So, I hope Jordan Dangerfield can break that, but I'd rather it be if Jordan Dangerfield has a down season, I'd rather have it be him than Chris Boswell. So, you want to see Boswell come out there and do well. You want to see the Steelers getting points on the board. They break the streak. Do they score a touchdown on their opening possession?
I have a feeling no. I bet we get a field goal opening possession.
Yeah. Yep. I say that might take a couple weeks,
because I don't know that you're going to see Ben in full rhythm.
Yeah.
Although I put it, I think we could get points on the first drive. I think it's 80% chance that it's 3 and 20% chance that it would be 6.
There you go.
/7.
Yeah. So, so people are going a little bit, unless he brought up something in the live chat, something we talked about earlier is about, Wes is going to be writing an article for the website. I know sometimes people, they hear that they're joining to do stuff and they think it's podcast stuff. We were talking about articles earlier that Wes is going to have one. You're going to have one. So make sure you're checking out BehindTheStillCurtain.com for those. I think the Steelers can put up some points the first drive. I think you're right. I think it'll be a field goal.
I don't know. Here's why I still give it that 20% chance for the touchdown. All right. What happens? Because I'm going to throw a little scenario at you. We come out and we get a couple decent runs with Connor, and next thing you know, Ben goes back and just has one of those Ben type moments where he completes 5 passes in a row to 5 different receivers.
Yeah. Yep. You know what? Like I said,
something like that happening too, and that would march us right down the field and get a shot at a touchdown.
Didn't we say something? Something crazy could happen, like right off the bat. You expect the Steelers to turn and hand it off to James Conner. What do you know? It's a play action pass, and Ben wants to show that he didn't get a new elbow to come back and hand the ball off.
Yeah,
and chucks it deep, and they score a touchdown on play 1. I mean, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment if that's what we're coming to expect.
No. See,
I just want the W.
I'm trying to throw out so many different things that happen so that when one happens, I can be like, look at that, I called it.
Yes. Yeah, you're the guy that fills out 27 NCAA men's basketball tournament brackets just so you can say you called that one big upset. So, the sheets of integrity. So, I'm so excited about this. I don't know what to expect. This is the most blind we've ever gone into a week 1 before. Would you feel better if the Steelers were 3-2 or 4-1 coming out of a preseason? Would you feel any worse if the Steelers were coming out, 1-4 out of the preseason?
Actually, or I wouldn't personally, because honestly, the past several years, we don't play enough of our regulars in the preseason for me to get a good feel of what's up there. The only thing, though, last year I had a lot better feeling about our defense going into week 1 than I did the year before.
Oh, absolutely.
And that proved to be true.
That right now, I just kind of feel like, you know what? Ooh, new offensive coordinator, new head coach, young quarterback. Here come the Giants. You know what? The Steelers defense doesn't need to worry about the Giants offense. The Giants offense needs to worry about the Steelers defense.
Yeah.
Go in with that attitude is like, I remember one time I got all fired up coaching a game, and I felt like this was a game we could come out and dominate. And I remember my pregame speech. It was the best one I ever gave. And I looked at my defense and I pointed at them and I said, not 1 yard. Don't you give up 1 yard. You drive them back. You take it to them because you are better than them. Now go do it. I know we gave up more than a yard, but we won that game. So that's how I feel about this defense.
But
it's like,
I was just saying, that 20% scenario, I'd love to see the Steelers come out and get down and get a touchdown. Here's what I'd love to see when the Steelers defense first steps on the field. Ready? Saquon Barkley 1 yard. Saquon Barkley no gain. Pressure on third
7
down.
yard sack.
No, forget that. Pressure on third down. Interception. Set the offense up.
Yeah. So, hey, that was some news that I wanted to talk about in part 1 that I had up on my phone that I forgot, but Wes just threw it in the live chat. With the new rules with the practice squad on Tuesday, teams can protect 4 players that can't be poached for the week. The Steelers protected Jaron Elliott, Henry Mondu, Curtis Riley, and Wendell Smallwood. So running back, defensive back, defensive lineman, and linebacker. Only one offensive player.
Thank you to Wes for bringing that up and giving Dave the reminder.
Yep, because I had it there on my phone, ready to address that. So before I'd like to open it up just to get some predictions real quick, but don't type them in yet because the one thing I wanted to say was I had some info about the defensive captain. Real quick, how did you feel when you heard about that? About Cam Heyward getting his contract extension?
Oh my gosh, the contract extension. It was just like, I was starting to get the feeling, kind of like Cam himself said, that he was ready to go into the season thinking this was his last ride. I think it just goes back to show that, first of all, I think Cam Heyward's got several pretty good years left in him. And to me, I think it just showed – it reminded me of the Steelers organization of the 70s.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you for spelling me there because I had a bunch of numbers written down and I had to find them when it came to Cam.
Trying, but you're welcome.
But I was watching on YouTube. They're like, "What's Dave doing?" Yeah, I'm looking for my numbers. So Ezra says his Cam jersey's on the way. I've been wearing mine for a while now. There was some numbers that came out with his contract. Now, I went on record as saying this. I said, if it might be tough for the Steelers to get this deal done this year. I'm shocked they did, but I'm so glad they did. I said, if not, then next year they have to franchise tag him in order to have more time to negotiate. Don't let him go. I believe Cam wasn't going anywhere. The Steelers are going to do it. The thing is, could they deal with the 2021 salary cap? So here were some numbers. This was from Jerry Dulock. He didn't have all the numbers, but based on some of what he said, I did some calculations. Okay. That we know that it was Cam was due $9.5 million base salary this year. That was included in the new deal. To where that was what he was already going to have, plus another, what was it, 64.5 to have a grand total of the 75.1 million over the next 5 years. Now Cam had 3.7 something bunch of numbers. That was basically, if he would have been cut, that would have been the dead money, if you know what I mean. That rolled over from his signing bonus from his previous contract. So that's money that counts in 2020 no matter what. So I was doing some numbers, and Dulock threw out like the last 2 years of Heyward's contract. I'm like, okay, that makes sense of what those numbers were. And I did some back calculating about how things could be. The Steelers could have chosen to save, how much was it? That his salary cap number could go down if they chose to, based on reports, to as low as $11.05 million for this year, which would save him a couple $1 million. Don't know if they did it that way. We do know that Cam has to have the $1.05 million in base salary based on his year's experience. We know that on Friday he's getting a $2.75 million roster bonus. We also know that $17.5 million of that was a signing bonus, which is now split up over those years. So when you equate it all out, that looking at the numbers that Dulac gave for 2023 and 2024, that if you took what was left and averaged it for the 2 years in 2020 and 2021, that he would have like an $11 million salary with a $14.5 million cap hit. I would not be surprised if that was delegated slightly different to where next year's salary is a little bit lower. I also would not be shocked if he has a little bit higher base salary and next year's salary is even lower. Give him a little bit more this year, saying that we're going to give you more this year to keep it low next year, to where I don't see that. I look at the biggest cap hit that Cam Heyward could have for next year is $14.5 million. And I think they might have even figured out a way to have that lower. Just wanted to throw those numbers out just because I could. So Rich, before we finish up here, I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to ask the live chat, what is your prediction for next Monday? I want a winner and I want a score.
Steelers, 31-16.
31-16.
Yeah.
So they're going over 30 in the first week back. I don't think you said that earlier when we talked about streaks, but I think you're feeling it now. So I'm putting that out there now. I'm not giving my prediction yet because I have to do it on the preview. And frankly, I haven't thought about it enough to give it really good. So we're going to bring up some of these real quick to finish up the show. So we have, whoa, they're already jumping on me. Andrew says Steelers 28-10. Ronan, Steelers 27-6. Mark, Steelers 38-10. What was yours? You said 31?
31-16, and that's only because we give a late touchdown in garbage time.
Yep, and they go for 2 and don't get it, right? So
no.
They had 3 field goals before that. Gotcha. Yep. Jeffrey, spilling the beans before his show tomorrow night. He says Steelers 21-10. You better have the same thing tomorrow night, Jeffrey. The press Steelers fan says Steelers win 23-16 or 21-17. Come on. You must be a depressed Steeler fan. You can't even pick one score. That's a Dave answer. Young boy says Steelers 17-16. He says it a tight one. Brad, 17-10 Steelers. Donald Nolan, 34-13. Michael says 24-17, close one, comes down to the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. Okay. Wes, 45-10. He's saying 9 sacks and 4 turnovers.
Go big or go home.
Honestly, in my opinion, if the Steelers reach 30 points, it's going to be because I did a defensive score. Not that the offense can't. It's just, I don't know. There's so many different ways I could see this playing out. I got to think about this to really decide which one I'm going to go to. Is that Rico? I don't know. He says it's going to be Steelers 42-14. Dante Leaf, Steelers 30-17. Ryan Kellerman, who's on here a lot, 27-13. The press Steeler fan threw it back in that Ben will have 300 yards passing. I don't think he will. Because I think if they win, they could have a lead, and he's not going to have to. I could see Ben having 220 yards passing in the first half and finishing with 280. I could see it.
And 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, if he has a lot early, I don't think he'll have much late. I would love to see Mason Rudolph in the last 2 drives of this game because it's out of hand. Don't know that we will, but that's me. I'm still go West.
That's not normally a Ben thing to.
Nope.
Let somebody come in and take the kneel downs, but
I'm
going to be have a new Ben since he has a new elbow.
Who knows? But once again, I'm the king of wishful thinking. So Steelers, Pittsburgh, 26-9 Steelers. Mark just says, Mark Davison, Marky D says Danny Dimes loses. So
there you go. I love the next one. Cherry Band. Steelers win 3-2.
I'm going to give up that safety, man.
Sounds like a Pirates.
Go 3-0. And you got to give the shout out to Jerry Cherry Band that gives us our music for our audio only podcast. They're great. Cree Steelers 19-10. Okay. Let's Toast Steelers 34-17. He says Claypool gets 2 TDs. That'll be interesting. Tyler 24-10 Steelers.
The press coming in again.
Oh, I will click on it. Tom, 24-10 Giants. Okay.
24-10, us over the Giants.
Yes.
24
Steelers, 10 But I messed it up. 24 Steelers, Giants 10. Sorry. I can never say this name right.
You can't even read it right.
I can't read it right. Asiatic. I'm
That's
looking ahead. 35-6. That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Here's what I wanted to see. Felicia. Steelers 28-21. So Double H, good to see Double H back. 49-13. I said H back. 49-13 Steelers. Lumberjack 28-21 Steelers. I'm seeing if there's more here. George 23-13 Steelers. I like Mark. He says Giants won't score more than 13. I can get on that one. Steelers.
Mark, again, the only reason I gave them up to 16 was that they would be sitting with 9 and get a garbage touchdown late that we didn't care about.
Yeah, that could be true. Here's another one, 31-24. I'm assuming so far every single one of these has been the Steelers. People were giving stat lines. This is great. I wish I could do some more. Dill Whittick got to get his up there, 27-13 Steelers. Man, he had some last year where he picked them spot on. 27-13, got to remember that one.
Actually, yeah, remember that because he was knocking them down last year.
Okay. I'm trying to make sure that some people are giving more than one. Johnny, 21-10 Steelers.
Important though, everybody stays healthy.
Yep. So I'm kind of running out of these. These are lagging a little bit behind. We are out of time. Rich, it's been lots of fun. I'm excited that the next time that we are coming on here together for a show, for the Scho Bro Show, we're going to be talking about a game that's already happened.
That just happened.
A game that happened. And I hope that we're still just as excited as we are now because we want to see that black and gold team going back to Pittsburgh 1-0. We want to see him going back healthy. And we want to see our expectations still sky high for 2020. Rich, anything you want to say here before we sign off?
Yes, in those ever infamous words of one Bart Scott, New York Jet player, prior to playing the Steelers in the playoffs and then losing. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Hey, make sure you're getting in the Survivor pool at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Look for that. Winning assigned Marquise Pouncey football. Go there. Check out our whole lineup of podcasts. We're still coming at you. And thanks for tuning in. We will see you all next Tuesday after the Steelers game. Take care.